Two civilizations stood at the edge of history, one armed with ideas, the other with iron. Greece lit the world with wisdom, Rome marched across it with destiny. But when their paths collided, the conqueror wasn't as obvious as the world believed. This is the untold story of how the greatest minds of antiquity fell to the mightiest army ever forged, and how the defeated ended up shaping the conqueror forever. There are moments in history when the world seems to stand perfectly still, as if time itself pauses to witness the meeting of giants. Two civilizations, each extraordinary, each unmatched, moving toward each other like distant storms destined to collide. One forged in the fires of conquest, the other crowned with the brilliance of thought. Rome, the rising titan, Greece, the eternal music. And though the story is often told as one of domination, of legions crushing statues and empires falling to the sword, the truth is far more complicated, far more human, and far more profound. For before Rome conquered Greece, Rome bowed to Greece. This is the tale of how a young empire became a student, long before it ever became a master. Long before Roman boots touched Greek soil, the relationship between these two worlds had already begun, not with armies, but with ideas. Rome was still a rough rising republic, a place of farmers, soldiers, and stern tradition. And the winds of the Aegean first carried whispers of something different, something elegant, something ancient, something that stirred the Roman imagination in ways their own legends never had. From across the sea came the stories of Homer, echoing through markets and taverns. The philosophies of Plato and Aristotle traveled from city to city, like sacred fire passed from one torchbearer to the next. Greek art, Greek mathematics, Greek drama, they arrived not as foreign curiosities, but as revelations. Rome grew, but Greece glowed. Rome fought, but Greece thought. And in that contrast, the Romans found something irresistible. Greek culture became Rome's first true obsession. Roman generals returning from campaigns brought back more than prisoners and spoils. They brought back scholars, sculptors, manuscripts, treasures not weighed in gold, but in brilliance. And soon, Greek tutors filled the homes of Rome's wealthiest families, guiding young Romans through the epics of Achilles, the logic of Aristotle, the tragedies of Sophocles. To be educated in Rome was to be shaped by Greece. Every statesman, every poet, every philosopher in the Roman world walked the mental roads the Greeks had paved centuries earlier. But Rome did not admire Greece from a distance. It studied it, it absorbed it, it transformed it. The Romans, practical and disciplined, took Greek architecture and made it monumental. Marble temples rising toward the heavens, colonnades stretching across the heart of the city like the skeleton of a civilization that refused to die. Greek religion seeped into Roman beliefs so smoothly that the gods themselves seemed to migrate. Zeus became Jupiter, Hermes became Mars, Aphrodite became Venus. New names, same eternal faces. And as Greek thought filled Roman minds, a strange balance emerged. Rome was the muscle, Greece the mind. Rome claimed the world, but Greece explained it. By the time Roman legions first marched toward Greek shores, they were marching toward a land they already knew, a culture they already cherished, a people they both envied and admired. It was not the march of a stranger entering a foreign world. It was a march of a student approaching the halls of a master with respect, with ambition, and with a quiet promise that one day the student might surpass the teacher. This was not just conquest, it was inheritance. And the ancient world was about to witness how admiration could spark destiny, and how destiny could rewrite civilization itself. But admiration alone does not shape the fate of nations. Respect may soften hearts, but destiny favors the determined. And Rome was nothing if not determined. While Greece dazzled the world with thought and beauty, Rome prepared itself for something far more tangible, power. Not the fragile power that rises with genius and fades with time, but the kind that marches on iron feet and reshapes history with every step. To understand how Rome conquered Greece, one must first understand the force that carried Rome across continents, its legion. The Greek world had seen great armies before, the hoplites of Athens, the Spartan warriors, and the unstoppable Macedonian phalanx that once followed Alexander to the edge of the known world. But Rome created something different, something alive, something breathing. Something engineered not for a single brilliant campaign, but for endless, relentless conquest. The Roman legion was not an army, it was an organism. Every soldier a moving part, every formation a shifting system, every victory a lesson absorbed, filed, over time perfected. Where Greek armies relied on unity of the shield wall, Rome relied on the unity of discipline. Where Greek formations stood rigid and monumental, Rome's legions moved like water around stone, flowing, adapting, consuming. And behind this machine stood a principle as unbreakable as the shields they carried. Duty. To a Roman soldier, duty was not a word. It was a brand etched into the soul from the day he first swore his oath. He fought not for glory, not for brilliance, not for philosophy, but for the republic, for the laws, for the collective strength of a rising empire that promised immortality through service. And as Rome's military evolved, so too did its hunger. Each victory, whether in the hills of Italy or the plains of North Africa, hardened Rome, taught Rome, transformed Rome. Where Greece saw war as a contest of pride, Rome saw it as a craft. Greek generals sought battlefield brilliance, that single shining moment when strategy met destiny. Rome sought something far simpler, certainty. It fought to win, not to amaze. It fought to endure, not to impress. It fought to expand, never to retreat. And with every campaign, the young republic grew stronger, its borders stretching like the shadows of a setting sun. Soon Rome found itself standing across the sea from a Greek world fractured by old rivalries and new weaknesses. The Macedonians fought the Aetolians. The Achaeans defied Spartan ambitions. Athens dreamed of its past while its future slipped quietly through its fingers. Greece was a mosaic, beautiful, brilliant, but broken. And Rome had become a hammer. A hammer with no equal, forged in the fires of discipline and bound by unshakable unity. When the two worlds finally faced each other, it was not a contest of equals. It was a contest between a civilization still living in the echo of its golden age and another rising at the peak of its strength. Rome did not conquer Greece because it hated Greece. It conquered Greece because it could. Because it could. Because it was ready. Because the world had prepared it, inch by inch, battle by battle, to claim a place among the giants, and the legions, steady and silent, were the instruments of that destiny. But even the mightiest armies do not conquer a united people. Strength may bend walls, but division breaks nations from within. Long before Rome marched upon Greece, Greece had already begun to fracture. Not from foreign hands, but from the weight of its own brilliance. For centuries, the Greek world had shone like a constellation of city-states, each bright, each proud, each fiercely independent. Athens with its democracy, Sparta with its iron discipline, Macedon with its kings and conquerors, each a star blazing in its own corner of the sky. But constellations are only beautiful when seen from afar. Up close, they are simply points of light moving in different directions, and that was Greece. Brilliant but divided, a world of genius without unity. After the death of Alexander the Great, the empire he carved with unimaginable speed shattered like a vase on marble. His generals, once brothers in arms, became rivals, kings and warlords, tearing apart the lands he had stitched together. Macedon fought to hold what little remained. The Aetolians and Achaeans formed leagues that shifted alliances like sand in a rising tide. Sparta sought to reclaim its ancient glory. Athens dreamed, but did little more than dream. And in these rivalries, these endless quarrels, treaties, betrayals, Greece weakened itself far more efficiently than any foreign enemy ever could. Rome watched, and Rome waited, not with malice, but with calculation. For every time a Greek state called for Roman help against another, Rome answered. Not as a conqueror, but as a friend, a mediator, a stabilizing force. The Greeks, confident in the old dance of diplomacy, believed they were using Rome to balance their internal disputes. But Rome was not playing in a Greek game. Rome was playing in an imperial one. The Republic understood something that the Greeks, in all their brilliance, had forgotten. When you invite a wolf to settle a dispute among sheep, you do not control the wolf, you feed it. One by one, Greek powers turned to Rome to punish a rival, to secure a border, to gain an advantage in an old feud. Each request gave Rome leverage. Each alliance gave Rome presence. Each conflict pulled Rome deeper into the heart of Greece. Until one day, the Greeks realized the truth. Rome was no longer the mediator. Rome was the master. But it wasn't just political division. It was cultural. The Greeks could not agree on how to face this rising power. Some admired Rome, saw it as a protector, a force capable of restoring order. Others despised it, brute that lacked the subtlety and grace of Greek civilization. And while Greek states debated what Rome meant, Rome made no debate at all. It simply advanced. A nation fractured cannot resist a nation united, and Rome, bound by discipline and destiny, was the most united force Greece had ever faced. By the time the legions arrived, the conquest had already begun, not on the battlefield, but in the hearts of a divided people who had forgotten how to stand as one. History often turns not on ideas, but on moments. On the thunder of marching feet, the clash of iron, and the split-second choices made on fields stained with dust and destiny. For Greece, those moments came in waves, each more devastating than the last, and each one tightening Rome's grip around a world once ruled by philosophers and kings. The first great clash came in the Macedonian Wars. Greece, fractured but proud, still believed the phalanx, the ancient wall of spears, was unstoppable. For centuries, it had been the symbol of Greek strength, the formation that carried Alexander across deserts, mountains, and unknown worlds. But on a misty morning in 197 BC, on the rolling hills of Cynoscephaly, the old world met the new in a collision that would echo for ages. The Macedonian phalanx advanced like a living fortress, shields locked, spears angled, a bristling hedge of power that no army had dared confront head-on. But Rome did not confront it head-on. The legion did something the Greeks did not expect. It moved, it adapted. It behaved not like a wall, but like a tide. Where the phalanx was rigid, the legion was flexible. Where the phalanx demanded perfect terrain, the legion thrived in chaos. Where one Greek front faltered for a heartbeat, the Romans did not hesitate. They surged in like a blade slipping through armor. By the end of that day, the symbol of Greek dominance was broken, not by brute force, but by evolution. The world had changed, and Greece could not change with it. But Rome was not finished. In the years that followed, city-states rose and fell in desperate defiance. Some tried diplomacy. Others tried resistance, but every path, soft or hard, led to the same destination. The final spark came from Corinth, a proud city, a symbol of Greek resilience. It chose rebellion over submission, and Rome, weary of Greek restlessness, responded with fire. In 146 BC, the legions swept through Corinth with a cold, efficient fury. Streets burned, temples collapsed, statues that had stood for centuries crumbled beneath Roman hammers. In a single day, the last glimmer of Greek political freedom was turned to ash. But this destruction was not mindless. Rome was not erasing Greece. It was ending resistance, crushing rebellion, clearing the path for something it believed inevitable: order. When the smoke cleared, the message was unmistakable. The age of Greek independence was over. The age of Roman dominance had begun. Yet even in conquest, Rome treated Greece differently from any land it had ever subdued. It did not seek to erase Greek culture. It sought to claim it, to inherit it, to carry it forward. Greece fell by the sword, but rose again in Roman marble. Its cities rebuilt, its scholars respected, its ideas absorbed into the beating heart of the very empire that had conquered it. The battles were decisive. The wars were bloody. But their outcome was something rare in history: a conquered people who became the soul of the conquest. In most stories of conquest, the victor stands tall while the defeated fade quietly into the shadows of history. But Greece was no ordinary land. And Rome, though mighty in sword and shield, was no ordinary conqueror. For what unfolded after the dust of war settled was something rare, something almost poetic. Rome took Greece politically, but Greece took Rome spiritually. It was a conquest of minds, not borders, of the victory of ideas over armies. When the legions marched into Greek cities, they did not find a broken people or a culture emptied of meaning. They found a world overflowing with brilliance. Libraries etched with centuries of thought, temples whispering ancient stories, theaters echoing with tragedies that struck at the heart of human nature. And Rome, triumphant yet humble, did something conquerors rarely do. It listened, it learned. It embraced. Greek scholars became prized teachers in Roman households. A Greek education became the mark of a Roman elite. Philosophy, once foreign to the stern Roman mind, blossomed into a central pillar of Roman identity. Stoics, Cynics, Epicureans, their voices guided senators, generals, emperors. The very men who once commanded legions now debated the nature of virtue, honor, duty, and fate in words crafted centuries earlier by the philosophers of Athens. In architecture, Greece's influence carved itself into the skyline of Rome. Marble columns rose like captured sunlight. Statues lined forums like silent guardians of wisdom. Roman temples wore Greek faces. Roman poetry sang Greek melodies. Roman religion borrowed Greek gods and simply handed them Latin names. Even Rome's language itself, that proud Latin, opened its gates to Greek vocabulary, like a conqueror offering tribute to the vanquished. But the greatest transformation was deeper still. Rome had power. Greece had purpose. Rome had order. Greece had meaning. And when these two forces intertwined, they created something larger than either civilization could have built alone. From this union came the foundation of the Western world, its laws inspired by Roman logic, its soul shaped by Greek thought, its architecture an echo of both, its art a marriage of strength and beauty. Rome, for all its might, knew it had inherited a treasure. Not the kind won on battlefields, but the kind that reshapes destiny. For centuries, Roman emperors kept Greek scholars as advisors, tutors, and companions. The greatest Roman writers wrote under the shadow of Greek giants, and the most powerful empire the ancient world had ever known carried within its heart the quiet, enduring pulse of Athens. So yes, Rome conquered Greece, but Greece conquered Rome in return. Not through rebellion, not through armies, not through force, but through brilliance, through wisdom. Through the simple, undeniable truth that ideas outlive empires. When Rome finally fell centuries later, its cities shattered, its legions gone, it was Greek thought that survived, Greek memory, Greek spirit. The empire of the sword passed away, the empire of the mind endured. In that endurance, Greece achieved the greatest victory any civilization has ever known. A victory not of land, but of legacy, but of legacy.